Hi, welcome back to Strategic Planet. Today I want to share with you a keynote speech that I did earlier this month with the Emerging Trends in Marketing and Management conference. It focuses on social listening, and what I've done is I've edited the keynote speech and put it into three chunks. The first of which focuses on explaining what is social listening. The second is why social listening is important for academic research. And the third video looks at examples of some of the research I've done on social listening, which is now published. I hope you enjoy it. So if you have any questions, then do drop me a line, and don't forget to subscribe at the end. See you again soon. Bye. So without further ado then, as was mentioned, I'm actually going to be talking about social listening and why it's important for researchers. I think this is a really great topic, and the outline of the presentation today, which will be about an hour, so it'll give you some opportunities to ask me some questions at the end, is to give you this introduction into social listening, why social listening is important from a general point of view and from a research point of view. And what I mean by general is that how it's used in business as well, although most of the talk will be focusing on the aspect for academia and researchers. I'm going to talk about the types of research you can do with social listening, and you'll see it's actually huge. And then two really important issues which are linked to ethics and legislation. I'm going to touch on those. And then I'm going to share with you some of the research that I've done in the social listening arena. So we start, first of all, by addressing the big question: what is social listening? Now, two researchers, Stewart and Arnold, have written a paper about this, a really good paper, and they start off by saying that social listening is this process that has been associated with quite a number of terms, and they got four in the paper that they presented, and they talk about social media monitoring, surveillance, cyber stalking, and online creep. Now, or online creeping per se. Now, it actually goes on much wider than this, and you'll see that a bit later on. And what we'll see later also is that the paper that Stewart and Arnold presented probably, it's fair to say, was focusing not only on the social media marketing listening element to it, but the wider social listening, as into listening about conversations in groups, etc., etc. Because when we look at their specific definition, we can see that social listening is defined as this active process of attending to, observing, interpreting, responding to a variety of stimuli, which is either through some sort of mediated electronic or social channel. So they haven't specifically said it's got to be through the internet here, but we today will be focusing on really the digital side of social listening. Now, from a practical point of view, or in practice, when we consider social listening, there are two aspects of this. The first is at the strategic level, and for organizations, what this does is it allows you to focus on conversations about your brand in the sector or competition, and that's really important. So it's almost a market intelligence activity that's taking place here. And this, as we will discuss a bit later on, is what we would call a passive process. You don't get involved with any conversations, because obviously if people are talking about your competitors, 9 times out of 10 you're not going to respond because it's inappropriate. However, at the tactical level, i.e. the day-to-day ongoing, you need to have the ability to respond and to react to conversations which are particularly about your brand. You know, your brand will be saying, oh, this is a problem, what's going to go on? And it's just like saying that I have a business, I have an organization, I've got a telephone number, and I've given my telephone number out to all my customers and potential customers, but I'm not going to answer it. And if you use social listening and you don't answer or respond to your customers or potential customers' reactions, then they're just not going to engage with you anymore. So from a tactical point of view, it's really, really important that you engage with the conversations that are taking place on the various social platforms. Now, some of you may be thinking, social listening, netnography, is there a difference? I'm going to go through this in a bit more detail, but if we just start with netnography, what is it? Essentially developed by Keynote. Netnography is this form of qualitative research which seeks to understand the cultural experiences, encompasses and reflected within the traces, practice, networks and systems of social media. And one of the key terms that we'll find there is this word qualitative aspect to it. The other thing that Keynote talks about, and I'm not going to read out the whole aspect to it, but essentially at the bottom line there is that you've got to investigate, you've got to interact, and you've got to immerse. And one of the key differences, or one of the aspects that netnography really pushes these days, is this interaction. So it can't be passive. You've got to engage with the participants that you're looking at. But what then is the difference between all this different types of research? So we've got social listening, you've got netnography, you've got potentially digital ethnography, or some form of internet mediated research. What is the difference? Now, from my point of view as a pragmatist, I would say that there is no difference. However, what you'll find is that there are certain groups of individuals, particularly within the netnography camp, that will say, you're not engaging or you're not interacting with participants, so this cannot be netnography. But if you look at some of the published papers out there, I've got some myself, I've argued that actually netnography doesn't have to be qualitative, it could be quantitative, and you don't have to be active, you don't have to engage with participants. Because I'm going to go through some of the ethical aspects of engaging with participants a bit later on. And what I've come across, I've had a couple of papers rejected because they've said it is not netnography because you are not engaging with the participants. So me now, I've sort of shifted, although I'm still a bit more of a pragmatist, into saying it might be easier to, if you're looking to publish a paper, say it's social listening rather than netnography, particularly if you're doing passive listening. Or you're doing some quantitative aspect to that. And again, from my point of view, you could position it as digital ethnography or some other form of internet mediated research. One of the reasons why I've now gone down this route of adopting social listening as the key term is if we look at Google Trends. I'll just make the screen a little bit bigger here now for you. Now, what we can see here is the conversations that are taking place across the world relating to netnography and social listening. And we go back to 2004, essentially when the data was first caught, as it were. We can see that netnography has kept a fairly plateaued line, whereas social listening has started to extend and grow. Most people in practice and business will refer to the concept of social listening rather than any of the other terms. So that's another reason why I think social listening is a good term to use rather than Nography. Now, let's go back a few steps and just define the term listening. And this comes from Trenholm and Jensen back in 2008. And they define listening as a process of receiving, constructing meaning from, and responding to spoken or non-verbal messages. And if we link those together with what Stewart and Arnold had said, we can see a lot of similarities. And I've highlighted the key terms in specific colours. So observing and receiving, both in green, they're the same essentially. Interpreting and constructing meaning from, they are the same. And responding, both the same. Now, in terms of the classic listening definition here, they've restricted it to spoken and non-verbal messages, but Stewart and Arnold, they've expanded it out through this mediated electronic social channels element to it. So what we're seeing here is actually the definitions are almost identical, except the social listening is becoming more focus on specific areas. So we can hopefully now see that this concept of social listening is huge. You've got a lot that you can focus on, and you can see within this infographic here the hashtag sign, which is used quite a lot, and it's a mechanism for allowing others to find specific subjects. Really, it started within the Twitter sphere, as it were, using hashtags to associate with a specific group, meaning, culture, phrase, etc. The classic example at the moment, Black Lives Matter, or if you're a big football fan, hashtag Euro 2020. You'll know that if you're searching for that, that's the conversation that is taking place, and that's a way of finding. But it's not to say that everyone uses hashtags, and I'll show you some example of some research that I did previously, which shows that hashtags aren't that important. But it's everything on the internet through digital or mobile that you're listening to that becomes important. Now, earlier on, I talked about this concept of active or passive social listening. So the active really is where you are engaging or responding to conversation, and the passive is you just watching and remaining anonymous. Now, both are legitimate processes within research. The big difference really is that when you are doing active social listening, you need to get informed consent. You need to give the users some sort of idea that you are doing research which they are being a part of. So that's quite important. And a bit later on, I'm going to talk about the ethical aspect, so I'm going to go through that in a bit more detail. But suffice to say, the two aspects of social listening or ethnography or digital mediated research is that it could be active or passive. Passive is probably the easiest, and it's the quickest way of getting really clear information. Now, when would you use the two? So if you're trying to get a deep, rich understanding of a particular subject, then you would do the active research. But if you're starting off or trying to get a basic understanding, or even doing some sort of exploratory work, that the passive will suffice. Now, why social media? This particular slide here. It's a couple of years old now, 2018, because actually we're missing TikTok. TikTok's another platform which is growing and really should be in there. But some of the key things that you can see from here, if you look at the second column with Twitter, 6,000 tweets on average every second, and then in the on Facebook. 1 million links are shared every 20 minutes. There's a lot of data and information that is being shared out there. There's lots of information that you can get some really deep understanding of what's going on. Now, one of the things that you become when you embark on some sort of social listening exercises, essentially you become a social anthropologist. You're looking at how people behave really in the digital sphere, and it's a great way of finding out some great insights into specific areas of research that you want to focus on. But how can we do it? How can we capture this big data? It's not easy, or can be hard, drilling down it and getting the information. There are lots of platforms out there, and here are just a small number of them. I'm actually going to focus on two of these, the Keyhole and the Node Excel, in the presentation a little bit later on. But these are commercial organizations that provide social listening or social media monitoring for you to use. The costs vary greatly. Like most things in life, they're really targeting specific segments. Now, I won't name the names of the brands, but as an example, I was preparing a budget to do a piece of research that was going to look at climate change. So I wanted to do an annual review on the conversations taking place across the digital media on climate change. So for just one keyword, which was climate change, the annual license from the big players was £10,000 a year. So you can see that that's quite a lot. Now, with something like Keyhole, you still need a license. So we've got, I can't remember now, the license I got for this is about £1,200 a year, and I could pick up 5 keywords to focus on. So it's not quite as in-depth as some of the others, but from a research point of view, what we are really after is the raw data. So you can see here that the costs of embarking on this, if you want to use some of these platforms, can be very prohibitive. Now, in terms of the market for social media monitoring, last year, the market value was $2.74 billion, and it's predicted to grow to $7.25 billion by 2028. So you can see how important this is for the industry, and maybe that's why there's this big growth, as we saw earlier on when we looked at the Google Trends, the growth of social listening in the marketplace. A lot of people are wanting to embark on this.